It's Friday, September 26, 2025, and I'm Dave Sobel. 4 things to know today. MSPs say AI is fueling growth, but most aren't ready to guide customers through it. OpenAI's new benchmarks expose why 95% of enterprise AI projects fail. Cloudflare takes aim at Google's AI overview amid publisher pushback. And EU regulators force Microsoft and Apple into big concessions, reshaping security updates and product rollouts. Plus, a big picture look at private equity, automation, and measuring AI. Here's what it means for service providers. This is the business of tech. According to OpenTech's third annual Global Managed Security Survey, 92% of managed service providers are experiencing growth driven by interest in artificial intelligence, with 96% expecting this trend to continue into the year. However, only about half of these providers feel prepared to assist small and mid-sized businesses in adopting AI tools, a significant decline from 90% the previous year. The survey, which included over 1,000 respondents, highlights a growing readiness gap among providers as they struggle to meet customer expectations. Michael DePalma, Vice President of Business Development at OpenTech Cybersecurity, noted that providers are under pressure to match the pace of AI adoption, emphasizing the need for integrated, scalable security solutions to address the challenge. Gartner analysts emphasize that organizations can leverage shadow AI as both a challenge and an opportunity for innovation while maintaining security. During the Gartner Security and Risk Management Summit 2025, Christine Lee and Lee McMullen highlighted the need for security leaders to embrace AI to engage board-level executives and improve employee morale. A recent survey from Gartner indicated that 53% of respondents are currently developing custom AI tools, yet only 23% have implemented runtime controls for the technologies, underscoring the urgency for enhanced security measures as AI adoption accelerates. Why do we care? MSPs say AI is driving growth. 90% are seeing it, but only half think they're actually ready to help customers adopt it. That's down from 90% last year. That's not progress, that's backsliding, and probably overconfident to begin with. And Gartner's saying the same thing. 53% of companies are cooking up custom AI tools, but barely a quarter have controls in place. Translation? Your customers are already in the Wild West of AI, and you're not riding shotgun. This isn't about becoming an AI company. It's about putting some guardrails up before your clients get themselves into trouble. If you're not building AI governance and security into your offerings, someone else will. OpenAI has tested its latest models, including GPT-5, Claude, and Gemini, on real-world tasks, revealing that despite the proliferation of artificial intelligence tools, their effectiveness remains inconsistent. A recent report highlighted that 95% of enterprise artificial intelligence projects have failed, underscoring the pressure on companies to justify their use. OpenAI's new evaluation system, GDP-Val, measures AI performance on 1,320 tasks across 44 occupations, primarily in knowledge work. The evaluation aims to bridge the gap between theoretical capabilities and actual workplace demands, indicating that while AI can complete tasks significantly faster and cheaper than human experts, it currently lacks the ability to handle the complexities of ongoing projects effectively. OpenAI's findings suggest that while AI models are becoming increasingly competitive with human performance, they still face challenges in tasks that require contextual understanding and interaction. And Cloudflare has introduced a new feature that allows website owners to block Google's AI Overview search product without opting out of Google Search entirely. The move addresses concerns from publishers, including Penske Media Corporation, which recently sued Google over traffic losses attributed to AI overviews that utilize their content without directing users to their sites. Cloudflare CEO Matthew Prince explained that the feature simplifies updates to the robots.txt file, enabling publishers to specify that Google can index their content but not use it for AI overviews. However, these instructions are not legally binding, and it's unclear if Google will comply. If Google or other AI companies ignore these directives, it could lead to legal action from affected publishers. Why do we care? Here's the kicker. 95% of enterprise AI projects fail. Not stumble, not slow down, fail. OpenAI's new tests show that these models can crank out tasks fast and cheap, but they fall apart when it comes to real projects. That's what your clients are up against. And while you're trying to help them make sense of AI, Google's out there hoovering up publisher content for its AI overviews, cutting traffic to websites. Cloudflare is offering a block button, but whether Google listens, who knows? For MSPs, this boils down to two jobs: keep clients from throwing money at AI experiments that won't stick, and help them rethink marketing when SEO isn't enough anymore. If you're an MSP, you already know email is still the #1 way attackers get in. What's changed is how they do it. Automation, AI, and smarter social engineering are blowing past legacy filters and basic settings. So I'm hosting a live webinar defending against modern email threats on Tuesday, October 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern, sponsored by Mail Protector. We're going to cut through the marketing and get practical about what modern email security really means for providers. Here's what we'll cover: API versus gateway tools, where each shines, where they fall short, and how to pick the right fit for your clients. Outbound protection that actually works, stopping spoofing and impersonation, enforcing encryption, and tightening DMARC, SPF, and DKIM so your customers' brands don't take the hit. Configurations that matter, small tweaks that close big gaps without piling on complexity. And real MSP scenarios, what worked, what failed, and how tiny oversights led to big compromises. If you're building a new stack or tuning the one you've got, you'll leave with field-tested steps you can implement right away. Join me Tuesday, October 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Register now. The link is on screen and in the description. And let's move past theory into practical, next-level defenses against today's evolving email threats. Microsoft has been compelled to offer its extended security updates for Windows 10 free of charge in select European markets, dropping the early requirement for users to enable Windows backup. This change comes just weeks before Windows 10 reaches its end-of-life support on October 14, 2025, following pressure from the consumer advocacy group Euroconsumers, which argued for better support for users still on Windows 10. Previously, users were required to activate Windows Backup, which necessitates a Microsoft account and could result in additional charges for extra OneDrive storage. Euroconsumers welcomed the decision, stating that users would not need to back up their settings or use Microsoft rewards to access these updates. However, while Windows Backup is no longer mandatory in the European Economic Area, users must sign into their Microsoft account at least once every 60 days to maintain access to the updates. Consumers will continue to receive these security updates until October 13, 2026, while businesses have the option to purchase up to 3 years of support. Euroconsumers is advocating for a longer update period to enhance security for consumers. And remember, Consumer Reports just pushed back on this in the US too. I'll also note that Apple has announced that it is delaying the release of several product features in Europe due to challenges in complying with the European Union's Digital Markets Act. The company stated that the regulation has introduced, quote, more complexity and more risks for our EU users, end quote, particularly regarding the requirement to make Apple features available on third-party devices. Among the impacted features are artificial intelligence-powered live translation for AirPods, iPhone mirroring, and functionalities related to Apple Maps. Apple has emphasized that it is investing significant resources to meet these compliance requirements, noting that the list of delayed features may continue to grow. The European Union has set a deadline for Apple to implement these changes by the end of the year, or face potential fines, following a previous penalty of $580 million for violating anti-steering rules back in April. Why do we care? Well, here's what's happening. The EU leaned on Microsoft, and now Windows 10 users get free security updates till 2026. No more OneDrive hoops to jump through. Meanwhile, Apple's pulling features like AirPods translation and iPhone mirroring in Europe because of the DMA. What does this tell us? Regulators in Europe particularly are flexing, and vendors are blinking. For MSPs, that means fielding client questions. Why are my home PCs covered free, but my business has to pay? Or, why does this Apple feature work in the US but not here? Bottom line, regulation is now part of the service landscape. You've got to translate it for customers before the confusion turns into frustration. And time for some big ideas to take into the weekend. Hat tip to Rich Freeman in Channelholic, Why You Hate Private Equity. In a recent discussion, Synchro CEO Michael George highlighted the growing disdain among managed service providers for private equity firms, primarily due to the significant debts these firms have imposed on the vendors they own. George noted that once, around 10 to 15 years ago, private equity was welcomed as it fueled innovation and growth in the managed services sector, but that has drastically changed. Today, rising interest rates have shifted the financial landscape, making debt servicing a priority over innovation. For instance, ConnectWise reportedly carries $1.7 billion in debt, while Kaseya has taken on $4 billion in debt, necessitating substantial cash flow just to manage those obligations. As a result, the funds that could have driven innovation in these companies are now being diverted to pay off debts, leading to frustration among their customer base. Tech Bullion with a discussion of the significant evolution of IT outsourcing in the age of artificial intelligence and automation. With automation tools now able to handle tasks such as data analysis and security monitoring more effectively than human teams, businesses are challenged to remain competitive without falling behind. As companies shift from traditional outsourcing models to AI-driven approaches, they increasingly rely on automation to streamline operations and improve efficiency. For instance, robotic process automation is being utilized for data entry and system monitoring, significantly reducing errors and enhancing productivity. The article emphasizes that organizations leveraging AI and automation can not only save costs, but also improve scalability and flexibility in their operations, positioning themselves for success. Friend of the pod Mike Senka writes in Channel E2E about a new framework called REAL, R-E-A-L, which is being introduced for evaluating artificial intelligence initiatives in managed service provider operations. This framework emphasizes 4 crucial metrics: return on investment, acceptable error rate, auditability of decisions, and latency of response times. The article highlights that not all artificial intelligence projects are suitable for businesses, with some potentially wasting time and others failing to meet client expectations. It stresses the importance of having clear metrics to assess the value and reliability of AI systems, particularly as vendors increasingly promote AI capabilities. According to the article, understanding these factors can help providers discern which technologies will truly enhance efficiency and client satisfaction while avoiding the pitfalls of overhyped solutions. Why do we care? So here are the questions you've got to ask yourself heading into the weekend. If your key vendors are servicing billions in debt, what's being cut from innovation? And how does that hit your stack? As outsourcing shifts from people to automation, are you set up to compete on efficiency, or are you still selling labor hours dressed up as managed services? When vendors pitch you AI, are you measuring it against real metrics: return, error rate, auditability, latency, or are you buying the hype? And ultimately, are you making choices based on where the money actually flows, or just on who's got the flashiest story? Because in this environment, the winners aren't the ones who adopt everything. They're the ones who ask the right questions before moving. Thanks for listening. Today, National Chimichanga Day, National Dumpling Day, National Key Lime Pie Day, and National Pancake Day. That whole meal schedule is laid out. I'm previewing some upcoming additions to the show lineup on my Patreon at patreon.com/MSPradio. New content is coming. Sign up now to get very early access. The Business of Tech is written and produced by me, Dave Sobel, under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you've enjoyed the show, make sure you've subscribed or followed on your favorite platform. It's free and helps directly. Give us a review, too. If you want to support the show, visit patreon.com/MSPradio, and you'll get access to content early. Or buy our Why Do We Care merch at businessof.tech. Have a question you want answered? We take listener questions, send them in, ideally as a voice memo or video, to question@mspradio.com. I answer listener questions live on our Wednesday live show on YouTube and LinkedIn. If you've got a comment or a thought on a story, put it in the comments if you're on YouTube, or reach out on LinkedIn if you're listening to the podcast. And if you want to advertise on the show, visit mspradio.com/engage. Once again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again on our next episode.
Part of the MSP Radio Network.